if we could take attendance. We'll wait for Alfonso. All right, we do have a quorum. All right, and on the sign-up sheet, it looks like Senator Stewart, you were very quick. We've got your couple bills coming up, so if you'd like to.
Mr. Chairman, he says he's got two.
That's fine. That's fine. We'll go to. We'll. All right.
That depends on you.
All right, Senator Cosgrove, you've got two bills in front
Yes,
of us
Mr.
this
Chairman.
morning.
Can we start with SB 145, please?
Yes, sir. SB 145.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman,
Everybody have that in front of them?
Mr. Chairman, SB 145 would just make it clear that if you are going to replace an existing structure, whether it be a dock or a deck, et cetera, you don't have to fill out a joint permit application, Tidewater joint permit application. This is a joint permit application for Tidewater. It's 30-plus pages. And the genesis behind it is one of our citizens was just replacing the existing dock that she had. It was 575 feet, period. She wasn't moving anything. She wasn't adding anything. The city of Virginia Beach required her to fill out a joint permit application. The Corps didn't want it. VMRC didn't care about it. But Virginia Beach did. It cost her $4,000 to have an engineer fill this thing out. And worse than that, the delay was almost 6 months because everybody's backed up. And just out of circumstance, inflation, the cost of her materials doubled during that time she was waiting. So instead of the cost that she was told, she paid an additional $10,000 to redeck 575 feet of dock. So this bill would simply say if you are just replacing what you already have, nothing new, nothing additional, you don't have to fill this monster out. And that's what it does.
All right, any questions? Delegate Williams-Graves, question for the patron?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Question to the patron is, why did Virginia Beach want her to do this?
Mr. Chairman, Delegate Williams-Graves, it's anybody's guess. I have no idea. Norfolk does not require it. Portsmouth does not require it. Newport News doesn't require it. Chesapeake doesn't have a wetlands board, but they don't require it either. All they need is a simple building permit for just a one-for-one replacement.
Follow-up question, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Williams-Graves.
Okay, and to the patron, and so is this a replacement for replacement regardless of the age of the existing pier, ramp? Because things do change.
Yes, ma'am.
And, you know, if it was a 50-year-old ramp, it probably, I mean, there are probably some standards that have changed since it was built in 50 years.
Mr. Chairman, Delegate, basically what happens, it could be a year old or it could be 50 years old. We know with storm tide and, king tides that we've suffered in the last several months, hurricanes, the hydrostatic pressure that will come up under a dock that is stationary, not floating, can do some serious damage to those docks. So age really is kind of an irrelevant factor on this. It's just a matter of if somebody's dock or pier is ruined, by a natural incident, this would allow them to just one-for-one replace, foot for foot.
Thank you.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right,
Thank you.
I think we have a little bit of housekeeping we need to take
Yes,
care
sir,
of
you
first.
do.
We have a substitute.
Right.
All right, all in favor of adopting the substitute, say aye. Aye. All right, so now the substitute is properly in front of us. And any major changes between the substitute and the original?
No, sir. It really just cleans it up a little bit. It just says maintenance and replacement of a previously authorized pier, provided that is reconstructed within the footprint of the existing pier, which means a one-for-one.
All right, thank you. Delegate Runyon.
Thank you. Chair, question to the patron, or perhaps staff, but in our part of the world, we don't have what you're talking about, but we do have non-conforming structures. And as I understand the state code, if you have a non-conforming structure, you can repair or put back in service as long as a certain percentage is not being destroyed. I think it's 60%. Do we have non-conforming piers or structures that you would have? And And would this legislation become in conflict with that type of legislation in the Virginia Code?
Mr. Chairman, Delegate Runyon, I don't believe so. Piers and docks and decks are in all different configurations, et cetera. Some of them are built with 4x4s, which is a really bad idea where we live, okay? But basically, I've never seen a deck or dock that is a non-conforming structure as a, let's say, a building or house would be. Yes, sir, thank you.
Delegate Bolivar.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And actually, I had a question about the original versus the substitute, because I guess the original had the placement or replacement after submission of an application to the commission for review and processing. And so I don't know what that involves, but I guess your substitute would completely take it out of any kind of permitting process. So I was just kind of curious what we're losing in terms of oversight and review.
Sure, yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, Delegate Bolivar, if you are going to build a dock or a deck, you have to go through the permitting process with the VMRC, with the Corps of Engineers, and if you have one, a local wetlands board, okay? You have to be permitted for that. But once that building or that structure is permitted, all right, the substitute language here just says that if it's damaged, destroyed, if you look at any wood that's been exposed to the elements for any period of years, water gets in it when it's wintertime and freezes, expands, and then contracts, and it tears it up pretty badly. So this would just allow a one-for-one replacement for an already permitted pier.
Yes, sir.
And just to follow up, because I heard Delegate Lopez mutter it under his breath, and it got me thinking. So it does talk about the same footprint, so
Yes.
I kind of understand the same footprint. Does that include the height of
Yes,
your piers?
it's one for
So
one.
okay,
Yep.
thank you.
All right, any other questions from the committee? Do we see if anyone, a question? Yes, sir, question, Delegate Welch.
All right, so if there's no inspection, I mean, so you don't, just use you for an example,
Sure.
Senator. So you're going to replace your pier, I mean, what you're proposing here is that you're replacing an existing structure. You don't have to check in with anybody.
Yes, sir, you do. You have to get a building permit from your locality.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. It's not like you can just go out and do it.
Okay.
You have to get a building permit, and in this case, it would be from the city of Virginia Beach. I'd have to go to buildings and inspections, apply for the building permit, and then it would have to be inspected afterwards.
Mr. Chairman, a follow-up question?
Yes, sir, Delegate Welch.
Below the water, and this is way out of my league, but, you know, we've talked about these things over the years. So what happens, I mean, there's going to be a certain amount of disturbance under the water. What questions have to be answered there in order to, if you're going to pull up an old, I don't know if you call them pilings or.
Pile, yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to do, I mean, that's going to affect some things under there? Is that covered under the building permit part?
Yes, sir. What you would have to do in order to replace, if you replace the entire structure, you would have to pull the old piles that are there, because over a period of time, they have what's called burrow worms in our area. They're actually underwater worms that actually eat into the piles and kind of turn into Swiss cheese. You would have to draw the piles out, but put piles in exactly where they were before. All right, you can't move them around. It has to be exactly the same footprint.
All right, any other questions for the committee? Anyone would like to speak in favor of Senate Bill 145? Okay, anyone would like to speak against Senate Bill 145? All right, any comments from the committee? We do operate by motion.
Move to report.
Move to report the substitute.
Second.
We have a motion on Senate Bill 145 to report the substitute, and it is seconded. We'll go to the voting board. All right, bill passes 8-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator,
I'm going to make your life a little easier. Senate Bill 50, basically, they thought we had peace in the valley on this. It passed out of the Senate unanimously, but there's been some trouble in paradise over this. But, Mr. Chairman, I need to make this clear. I'm going to ask for you to carry this bill over for the year, because with our discussion this morning, you brought up an issue I had not thought about. and that was that the disturbance of 10 square feet of subaqueous land, if somebody's driving 4x4s, that's a whole lot of 4x4s, okay? When we drew this up, certainly the thought of piles, 8-inch to 12-inch piles, is what we had in mind. Being as late in the session as it is, I don't think we have time to really get it into the position that we need it. I think this bill has a lot of merit. It really is very, very difficult for somebody to have to go through that process I just described in order to put in 4 or 6 piles. And we're not talking about decks, we're not talking about docks, we're just talking about piles. But with your example this morning, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. I think that's something I need to work with BMRC over the coming year, if you would entertain that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Senator. I do appreciate you hearing my concerns on that. So we have a motion to carry this over.
Second.
All right. So motion is properly seconded. All in favor, say aye. Or is that aye?
Aye.
And Mr. Chairman, if you make an admonition to the folks that we are working with, we expect that if we accommodate the wishes of different organizations, that if those accommodations are made, that their word be their bond, because we have not seen that this year.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Senator Stewart, you want to go ahead?
Can I defer one more time?
Yes, sir. That's.
Huh? It may cost something here, but
Usually does.
right. And these are quick, and I've got to go chair another committee where we got 16 bills pending. But these are good bills, Mr. Chairman, starting with Senate Bill 187. Both of these bills deal with nutrient credits, and the first one, Senate Bill 187, I think probably someone has been around to talk to you all about this. It will accelerate the release of stream nutrient credits. DEQ can accelerate the release of nutrient credits generated by a stream restoration project if a qualified applicant, and it's defined in the bill, meets certain characteristics and protects. I believe it's got a lot of support. Initially, it was probably drawn more to the large operators, and as it happened, I had a farmer out in Mount Solon that had done one of the very first stream restoration projects, and it wasn't going to help him out at all, so he was a little upset about that. So we fixed that. And so the bill is in front of you. It does have an amendment that may have been offered to you.
Yes,
and I would
sir.
like for that amendment to be adopted. Basically what it does is set out an enactment clause, the language for the DEQ. If staff has that.
We have an amendment to report. So moved. All right, and let's.
Mr. Chairman, on line 89, after the word may, strike adopt guidance allowing for the accelerated and insert accelerate the, and then at the end of the bill, insert language that says the act becomes effective 30 days after DEQ issues guidance regarding the implementation of the act.
Okay. All right, so it's properly before us. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, so the bill stands before us, Senator, so that the amendment's basically just.
Basically, what was already in the bill was actually now in an enactment clause, and DEQ had actually requested that.
Okay.
And, oh, there you are. Good. And
Yes, sir, Delegate Weber.
All right. Exactly why is this bill needed?
the bill is needed. It's essentially, I guess you'd call it a cash management tool to assist operators so that there's the ability to release these credits in a more timely manner with certain precautions being taken. The next bill that you'll see will allow more latitude in the management of the funds that are set up when these nutrient credit programs are done. And actually, I've got a couple people who are very expert on that can speak specifically to that, Shannon, and of course, our DEQ director.
All right.
Okay. So I guess further question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. To the patron or to?
I'll defer to testimony and ask them.
All right, let's go ahead and get your key witnesses up.
Okay, there we go.
I'm not a key witness. Thank you for your time. It's Mike Rolban, DEQ. the big issue is really economic development. There's shortages of these nutrient credits throughout the state. And so because of that, the prices have skyrocketed. And the system to release them and to develop these credits has just been very slow the last couple of years. So this will give some acceleration in terms of projects that are completed and approved that and successfully meeting their criteria, they can get the credits released earlier. So it increases the supply right now. We already do this in wetlands and stream credits. It's just not for nutrient credits. So it's an odd kind of combination of different regulations.
Further question?
Delegate? Yes, sir. Delegate Robert.
So if I'm a landowner, I'm just trying to put this in terms.
Yeah.
I'm a landowner and I engage in putting a stream into this system. Will this bill help me see the cash flow sooner
100%.
rather than, will I see the cash flow before the project is finished or after?
Both. I mean, right now, it takes several years to get all the releases, so it moves up the release schedule. So you'll get some up front like you normally do now, but you can, as soon as you complete the work and have an associated financial assurances, you can get credits released sooner, which improves your cash flow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Any other questions for DEQ?
Thank
All
you.
right. And
Shannon Varner, I represent a number of the mitigation bankers, and we're obviously in support of this bill to help accelerate the release of credits so we can meet market demand and conform it more with our wetland and stream program.
okay, thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Yes, sir.
Yes, hi, Evan Bernowski. I'm with the Home Builders Association of Virginia. We're one of the major demand sources for nutrient credits, residential construction, and we've seen credit prices increasing and the supply declining, and we really rely on them, and we think this is a really good bill, and we support it. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Thank you. And is anyone in the room wishing to speak against this bill? Okay, seeing none. Senator, any other questions for Senator? The motion has been made to report as amended. Properly seconded. All right, Senator John, you're up.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The second bill, Senate Bill 188, is related to this. It basically addresses the long-term management fund, and it basically gives more latitude to the management of those funds in that you could use third-party long-term stewards for the funds that are essentially in escrow or the trust account as I see it. And again, you may want to hear from the experts rather than me. That's simply what it does. But if you have further questions, I would have my witnesses explain.
Any questions for the patron?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Delegate Baldwin.
Thank you, if I could. And I think this is probably for our DEQ director. And so this is really kind of the most important part of, what you do for credits, and particularly with stream restoration. Because if you design them right, they're going to work. If they don't work, there's consequences. And so I wanted to kind of get a better real world sense of what kind of mechanism we're talking about, and just making sure that, we've mitigated all possible risks, because otherwise, the state's left holding the bag for
Correct.
for what credits aren't getting done.
And again, what I think this is doing generally is bringing it back into conformity with our other restoration programs. So, for example, in Reston, you're familiar with the stream restoration there. The third party is Reston Homeowner Association, and the project I worked on, gave them the money. They hold the money. They invest it. We have investment criteria, but they're getting a better return on their investment, which provides more funds to assure that if there's a problem, there's money to fix it, versus for some reason in nutrients, it has to be in an interest-bearing account at a FDIC-insured institution, and you can't look at the long term. So you're getting like 0.1, 0.2 interest % right now. If you could invest in a nice portfolio for long-term investment, you could ideally, hopefully, when we retire, we'll get several percent, 4 to 8% return on investment. So it's really, the way I look at it is it's bringing this program in conformity with what we do in nutrient banking and wetlands banking and stream banking. Nutrient banking is just for some reason been treated differently. It's because of the history of how it started.
All right, any other questions for DEQ? All right, anyone in the room like to speak in favor of the bill?
Yes.
Shannon Varner again on behalf of the nutrient bankers, and again, we support the bill. One point is the mechanism that can currently be used as a trust account in a financial institution. When we've been looking at those to set these long-term management funds up, those trust accounts are charging a minimum of $2,500 a year. It's more on the order of $5,000 or more, which then eats away at the principal and depletes the purpose of having those funds in place for the long-term management. And so we're just trying to correct that so those funds will be available for what they're actually needed for.
Question, Mr. Chairman. All right, so these are funds that when you're putting together a bank, right? These are the funds that are used if something happens to that bank or if that stream restoration needs fixing and things like that, so that this money is set aside to fix that, correct?
Yeah, it's set aside, Mr. Chairman, it's set aside during the process so that it's there when the project is completed and turned over to a long-term steward.
Further question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Delegate Weber.
So this is, I mean, aside from the trust issues that you discussed where the actual principal depletes, being able to place those funds in a another account portfolio that can actually grow at a much greater percentage is, in my mind, I think probably necessary. I mean, if you look at the cost of construction now as it goes up too, I mean, I think it would be, wouldn't that, so is that another reason why we need to do this?
Yes, I mean, we want to make sure that those funds are there for the long term and are available for what, if and when they are needed, and the more you can have in there, obviously, the better, yeah.
Any other questions? All right, does everybody understand what the bill is doing, putting it on par with the other bank? All right, we have a motion properly seconded to report the bill. No amendments, correct? All right, as reported, go to please cast your vote. All right, bill passes 8-0.
Thank you, Mr.
Senator.
Chairman, members of the committee.
You're very welcome,
All right, Senator, we have 4 bills.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you. Thank you. Let's start with Senate Bill 358. And I don't think so, Mr. Chairman. I think that's good to go. And so, Mr. Chairman, what this does, a lot of the folks in the seafood industry can't find help either for shucking oysters or picking crabs, and you can't find it locally, and it's getting more complicated as time goes on, and so often they use what's called the H-2B workers, and they're temporary workers who come into the country, they do the specific job, and then they leave, and it's a federal government program that actually monitors this. It's relatively complicated to access that and to do what you need to do to get these folks in, although the employer pays for everything and is responsible for everything. And so what this does is it would allow for a person under the labor secretary's designee who could assist them. And essentially what we're thinking is it would be as much as a person in Virginia who works for the executive branch who could call this federal counterpart. The program is administered out of Missouri, as I understand it, and could actually call that federal counterpart and assist in getting this paperwork through. That's what the bill is intended to do. I think that's what it does. It started out being under VMRC. There was a huge fiscal impact. It was not the way I wanted to go, and so we changed this to have it under the Secretary of Labor, and hopefully it can assist these folks. So.
All right, thank you, Senator. Any questions for the Senator?
Sorry.
Yes, sir. Senator Lopez. Delegate Lopez.
Don't wish that on him.
Senator Stewart, so the H-2B visa program is every year it's filled up within days of it opening. This is to help. This is a state official to help businesses address this, or this is a state official whose job it is to help coordinate things between the federal program and the businesses, or the state and the businesses? or all of the above?
All the above. And so the complication becomes getting the paperwork through the process so that the folks can actually come and work, do their job, and then they go back home. That's what I understand anyway. The difficulty is in actually getting the paperwork process through the federal government. So this individual would help with that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, I guess, question for the patron. In regards to this, I mean, I think obviously the paperwork has always been an issue. Why not just the seafood industry? Why not just most of the industries as a whole? Because I know a couple of folks in the valley that have H-2B, they get H-2B visas for guys to come, pick peaches and stuff. Wouldn't it make, I mean, if we pass this, is there a way we can just make that person help everybody?
Mr. Chairman, I believe that VDAX already helps with the H-2A workers in that process. I could be wrong about that, but in all candor, I'm trying to help the folks in the seafood industry. It's interesting now, you go to a restaurant, any in Richmond, any around the state, and they've got a selection of the prettiest oysters on the half shell you've ever seen, and we've got a great industry that's continuing to blossom in crab meat, and they can't find people to do the work because local people just won't do it. So I'm just trying to address the seafood folks at this point. That's not a good answer to your question, is it?
Follow up, Doug Weber?
I guess I too want to help the seafood people because I love oysters and whatnot. I guess my question is in regards, because I'm sure it's probably pretty costly, a couple of lawyers pretty full-time to be able to handle all of this stuff, the paperwork and stuff. Is this, well, I'm saying for this, if I was a selfish person trying to go through the federal.
Oh, yes, individual.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
I'd have
yes.
to. So is this a way for the industry as a whole to have at least one person that can help them facilitate with the federal government through, is it FSA or USDA to get these?
I have no objection to it as long as it doesn't kill my intent, my bill.
A question for the patron. Senator Stewart, is there a real issue with getting oyster shuckers? Has that been a problem in the past? I mean, when you deal with H-2B visas, in the past it hasn't been that big of a problem. Why is it a problem now?
I can't tell you why it's a problem, but I can tell you I'm told by all the folks in the seafood industry that it's a problem.
Okay.
And it's a big problem.
Is this a follow-up question, Mr. Chairman? Yes, sir. Senator Stewart, is this a problem because of the federal cap on the number of H-2B visas in the country and the fact that that cap is met fairly quickly? Or is it something specific about the oyster industry or the seafood industry?
Again, Mr. Chairman, I'm told that it is difficulty getting the paperwork process to get the folks here.
And Senator Stewart, we do have some industry people in the room that I know. I know they're very familiar with this program, and I do know there's an issue of timing. I think where they come and go.
I can stand aside and let them speak.
They'd like to. AJ, if you'd like to try to answer that question.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, there are a number of questions here. I first want to thank the senator for bringing this important bill to our industry. To address your question, our applications actually go to U.S. Department of Labor in Chicago, and they classify the job description. So even though we provide a job description that is particular to shucking oysters, they sometimes classify us as warehouse workers, and those oyster shuckers are no longer oyster shuckers. They're working in a warehouse, so they're misclassified. So there is a specific issue with oyster shuckers. It has to do with the cap, yes, the number of visas. However, it also has to do with the actual job description at the Department of Labor.
That happens a lot?
Yes, sir.
So on a regular basis, the federal government is misidentifying Virginia oyster shuckers?
Yes, sir. Well, not just Virginia, all around the country. However, we've seen it specifically in members of the Virginia Seafood Council, in their employers that apply for these jobs or these positions and these visas. Yes, we have problems with that.
Would you think as an individual, as a representative of your organization, that maybe we should increase the overall H-2B visa cap at the federal level?
At the federal level, there's actually existing current law that exempts fish roe processors that was put in place in 2004. What we're advocating for in the seafood industry is that we expand that to all seafood processors. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
If I could just address Delegate Webert's question he had before, having to do specifically about seafood, and why couldn't it be expanded to others? The H-2A program, right, the H-2A program is administered by USDA. They have a local liaison in the state that deals with businesses. We don't have that in the seafood industry, specifically in H-2B. So this would help tremendously with that. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the committee? Anyone in the room like to speak in favor of the bill? Anyone speak against the bill? All right, I think, all right, the bill's been properly seconded. We'll go to the voting board.
I apologize, we need to move them forward.
I'm sorry, yes, sir. There is a note here that this does need to be referred to Appropriations Committee, so we need to report and refer.
Report, refer. Second.
All right. So the motion is to report and refer. All in favor? Go to, I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot. All right, go to the vote board. Bill passes 8-0 to report and refer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Senate Bill 357. And, Mr. Chairman, what this would allow is for localities that actually have a lease on private bottom to qualify for the Waterway Maintenance Grant Program. In Westmoreland County, there's an area called Cabin Point. It's actually in Delegate Ranson's district, but it looks like it might be in my new district coming up, down the Northern Neck. And they have a sanitary district, and they have to dredge a lot in Machoda Creek to keep that open. And when they applied for the Waterway Maintenance Grant Program, they actually couldn't qualify because they didn't, the locality didn't own the bottom. So this would allow, if the locality actually leases it, has a long-term lease, then they could qualify for the grant fund program. Doesn't mean they're going to get it, not adding any money or anything. It's just an extension to try to let some of these folks take advantage of that where possible.
Okay, thank you, Senator. I actually have a question. I don't know if for the Senator or the VMRC about a leasing term of 25 years or more. I know my leases are 10 years. So if VMRC, I mean, is that specific to a locality? Are they in the room?
Don't we? We just picked a number.
Right, that's what I was trying to curious as to the term of 25 years or more on a lease.
Mr. Chairman, Randy Owen with the Habitat Management Division for VMRC. The leases are good for 10 years and they can be renewed after that point.
Okay, so I guess my question is, so we've got a term of 25 years or more, there wouldn't be a lease that you could get this permit for because all leases are 10 years or less. Is that the way I read it?
But they can be renewed.
It can be renewed, but I'm saying the way the bill is written, it's 25 years or more. If it's the political subdivision, I guess my question, to try to be more precise, a governmental subdivision, political subdivision, can they lease bottom for more than a 10-year term, or is it everything's a 10-year term?
Everything's 10 years.
So we need to adjust this to defer to 10.
And Mr. Chairman, I have no objection to that, but just to explain, this is one of those weird situations where they own the bottom. The subdivision actually owns the bottom. It goes back to a King's grant. It's somehow opened up its navigable water, and we were just trying to draw the bill narrowly. I have no objection if you want to open it up to 10
Well,
years.
no, sir, Senator. If they actually own the bottom, then it would only apply to them, and that makes me
Correct.
feel much better with that. Okay, that's
Correct.
fine.
That's
Okay.
why we drafted it that way.
Yes, sir, Senator. Any questions for the Senator on House Bill 357? All right, anyone to speak in favor of the bill? Anyone speak against the bill? All right. Questions for the senator?
So it only applies to ground owned by political subdivision.
That's the way we drafted it. We drafted it very narrowly, thinking that was the correct approach.
Yes, sir.
Still trying to figure that out. So it says the bottom is privately owned, and then you hold a lease on it. How is it then publicly owned?
Because it's in a sanitary district. So the governing body adopted an ordinance declaring a sanitary district. The sanitary district then leases the bottom, which is privately owned, and it becomes public bottom for that purpose. And this would allow us to apply for the grant funding in that particular instance.
Okay, thank you.
It is kind of confusing. I apologize.
Okay, any other questions? All right.
Move for report.
All right, so we have a motion to report and seconded. House Bill 357. Bill reports 9-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. Next is Senate Bill 567, if I may.
Yes, sir, 567. Any amendments?
So,
Good.
Mr. Chairman, I represent northwestern part of Prince William County, and actually this area is up in the Nokesville area, and there's a small subdivision and a small golf course that was constructed in the 90s. And they actually had a spray irrigation system that served the community. And that spray irrigation system failed some time ago, and some of you all would know that there's a policy on the Occoquan River which has lasted for some time, and Fairfax Water has administered that. They have done a phenomenal job. They've been great stewards of the resource, and their policy actually cleaned that up, the Occoquan up, which was quite a mess at some point. The dilemma that the subdivision find themselves in is they have very few choices. They've got to extend public sewer from the predominant part of Prince William County out, which the board does not want to do. And I know Delegate Torian actually put in a budget amendment to try to assist in that, but we've been told the county does not want to extend public sewer out there, nor do they want to spend the money, as I understand it. They can continue to pump and haul in perpetuity, which is what they've been doing for a very, very long time. And I think anybody, including the health department, will tell you it's not a viable solution. And then they have this option, which would allow them to essentially have a discharge permit of treated effluent, treated to today's standards, as I understand it. And I asked DEQ to help me with this to make sure, because I'm very much an advocate for clean water, as some of you all know. And I think there's an amendment which would continue to restrict it, or maybe I already have it, that Fairfax Water asked for to make sure it's limited. There are already two that are grandfathered in, and this would be the only other one. And again, Mr. Chairman, I would just tell you that I appreciate Fairfax Water working with me on this. They really have done a phenomenal job in that area, and their policy has worked, and they're wonderful stewards of this process. And we hope that you all look favorably at this, because the folks in that neighborhood really have no other choice.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the patron on the bill?
I guess, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Delegate Ball.
Yeah, I guess the question comes down to whether Fairfax Water's concerns have been addressed in this, or whether we still need an additional amendment. And maybe I'm looking at that between 10 and 25 homes, and that does it, but just want to make sure.
Mr. Chairman, Preston Bryan on behalf of Fairfax Water. I'm not sure Lisa has the amendment, so it would be on line 11 after plant. Delegate Bulova, Mr. Chairman, Delegate Bulova. No.
Mr. Chairman, the potential amendment would be on line 11 after plant. insert constructed and placed into service prior to January 1, 2001.
So, Mr. Chairman, Delegate Bulla, Fairfax Water has been, as Senator Stewart said, most concerned about the Occoquan policy and protecting the reservoir. And the Occoquan policy has been in effect since 1971, so for more than 50 years, and as Senator Stewart said, has done a phenomenal job in cleaning up the watershed and the reservoir. Fairfax Water would be further happy, or they would much prefer the already narrowly drawn bill with this amendment to be drawn even more narrowly, just to make sure it only applies to this one facility.
All right, we've got a proposed amendment in front of us. We'd like discussion on the amendment. You need to.
I'll move the amendment.
I think you have this.
All right, any other questions about what the amendment does? All right, so we've got a motion on the amendment. All right, and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, so the amended bill is in front of us. Okay, so anyone in the room like to speak in favor of the bill?
Just very briefly, Mr. Chair, Joanna Faust on behalf of Fairfax County Board of Supervisors. We also wanted to thank Senator Stewart for taking into account both the problem and also the concerns of our sister board, Fairfax Water. My board has the same concerns generally just about the Occoquan policy document. It's stood in place since 1971 to protect the reservoir, and which is a source of drinking supply for hundreds of thousands of people in Northern Virginia. But again, we do thank Senator Stewart for trying to address the problem, but also limiting any impact. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Any questions for DEQ that we know of, or do we understand what the bill is trying to do? Is there anyone like to speak against this bill? Seeing none, the bill's before us. Yes, sir. Delegate Weber.
All right. Just, I need to clarify I'm trying to wrap my head around this real quick. So basically, you've got a small subdivision. They've got a basically sewage cleanup system that is not working correctly.
Spray irrigation field, are you familiar with that?
I believe so.
So some small systems, that they actually treat the effluent, and then the stuff that comes out is supposed to be as clean as water, and they spray it in grassy areas.
I was going to say, you probably use it on the golf course.
I don't think they were able to use it on the golf course, but the area where they had is now you can't take anymore.
Okay.
That's the problem.
And so this legislation alleviates that by.
It allows them to treat the effluent now and discharge into a stream, which then flows into the Occoquan,
Okay.
which would have otherwise violated the Occoquan policy. To allow that. I think there are 2 existing that are grandfathered, and in the way we've crafted this bill with the amendment, I think it would be only 3 with the addition of this neighborhood. It's 22 homes and it's a golf course.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Senator Stewart kind of answered my question in terms of what ultimately changes. And so you're going from a land-based application treatment system to a direct discharge into the Occoquan. I guess my question either for you or maybe DEQ is what level of treatment do they think will actually get from that discharge? How often is that permit renewed, so as new technology comes online that you continue to increase that?
And just in quick response to Delegate Volba, that was my concern with this bill, because I didn't want to carry it unless I was confident that we were meeting strict standards, and so I asked DEQ to work with me on that, and hopefully they can explain the technical parts of that.
Thank you.
Delegate Volba. So, the essence here is it's a point source discharge proposed. It has to get a VIPD's permit. They last for 5 years. They all have the same standard in this area. So the treatment will be the same. The issue is it was a land application, so it was not a point source discharge. The blackjack clay in that area that Delegate Weaver and I both know, trying to farm that area, it was not appropriate. It just won't infiltrate fast enough. So that's particularly in wet weather. So that's the problem. So it's not a good environmental solution. So there are two alternatives as discussed, and this is the one that Prince William counties had preferred. And so we worked with Delegate on a technical basis. We have no position at this time, but from a technical standpoint, we provided all the information, and Senator Stewart has made all those changes.
All right, any other questions for the patron? All right, last word, Senator Stewart, on this?
No, that sums it up, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Thank you.
Committee operates off motions.
Mr. Chairman, I move to report as amended.
Okay, as amended. All right. Senate Bill 567 is in front of us. All right, bill reports on the Senator. I think you've got one more in front of us.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Senate Bill 354. And, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, what this does is it accelerates the timeline for the city of Richmond to clean up their CSO. And the reason I brought this, as you all know, a couple years ago, I brought a bill and we had sort of a global agreement on that. But then after that, it came to my attention that the city had actually dumped another 2 billion gallons of raw sewage in the James, which would have been last year, which got my attention. And so I brought this to try to speed it up. I'm not trying to beat up on the city of Richmond. I'm not trying to make their life difficult. But in the year 2022, we're not a third world country. We shouldn't be dumping this kind of raw sewage in the river, period. Not my words, but Senator Peterson in the Senate actually made the comment, this is probably the worst environmental tragedy we have in Virginia right now. And I agree with that. And I want to help the city of Richmond. And I think the way we help the city of Richmond is we continue to apply pressure to get this done. Since I brought this bill to accelerate the timeline, I noticed that they've gotten the attention of Senator Kane and Congressman McEachin. They've gotten the attention of this administration, and folks have tried to help. I know that our Finance Committee and Governor Northam put in money for them. There may be a different view on the House side, but I hope we can change that view as well. But this is a really serious issue that needs to be addressed. And that I know Richmond says they can't do it. Alexandria said the same thing, and Alexandria beat the timeline we set for them because they got to it, went to work, and got the job done. It was interesting because we've been here now in session for a little over a month, and I looked at the numbers for Richmond for January, and I'm not making this up. In January alone, 198 million gallons of raw sewage went into the James River. And so we've got to do something about this. And if we can accelerate it, they're averaging about 2 billion, and billion with a B. If they're averaging that a year, if we can accelerate it by 5 years, we've saved 10 billion gallons of raw sewage going into the river. You all, if you look at this substitute, there's a lot of stuff in it I don't like that the Finance Committee put in it, but I'll live with it. It essentially says if they can't afford it, they don't have to do it. It defeats the purpose of the bill because I had given the city my word all along that if they tried hard, I would be the first person to bring the bill to give them more time to do it. But I think it's important that we at least send the message now that we care about clean water in Virginia, and we need to get this mess cleaned up.
All right, thank you, Senator. Delegate Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question for the patron. With this 5-year acceleration, what's the impact going to be on the city of Richmond in terms of dollars?
I'm sorry,
in terms of dollars, in terms of money.
They are projecting that this is going to cost $1.3 billion because it is an enormous project. If we can get them federal money and state money, that would certainly help. But you would anticipate that they would have to raise their rates some, and that's what they've objected to, because about 20% of the city, they've told me, are at or below the poverty line. But 80% of the city are not. And so there's got to be a way to work through that, and we can't continue to not fix this problem because there are folks that it may impact unreasonably. I think I would rather pursue a course to help those folks that maybe can't afford to pay it than just continue to kick this can down the road.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Follow up.
Why now?
What do you mean?
This has been going on for over 10 years, my estimation. Why now?
Mr. Chairman, because I learned about it. And when I learned about it, I started paying attention to it and trying to do something to fix it. And I will continue to do that as long as I'm here.
Right.
All right, Delegate Williams-Graves.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the patron, you said if there's federal and state money available, so has there not been any federal or state funds identified for this bill? I mean, for this project currently?
We gave them $50 million, I think, last year, the year before, and then Governor Northam put $100 million in the budget in this budget. That stayed in the Senate side budget. I'm not sure the status in the House, but I have talked with some of the House folks, and they acknowledge that we need to give them money to help them. I'm aware that, as I say, Don McKeechin and Tim Kaine visited the site and are looking at federal ways to help. There's a ton of money available. There's a lot of money that they could borrow. The city doesn't want to borrow. I mean, there's money out there that you can borrow at almost 0% interest. You can stretch it out for 35 or 40 years, and you don't have to start paying it back until after you finish the project. But they're concerned about their bond rating, and I understand that. But it's got to be a package where everybody kind of helps. The city's going to have some skin in the game. We need to find federal help, and I think the state should offer up some funding as well. But the most important thing is that we have to apply pressure, or it's never going to get done.
Follow up, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
If you, Delegate who? Okay. If you have, so we do have state money, we're looking at federal money. What is the city going to put, if they don't want to borrow money, and you said there's probably going to be an increase in rates on the overall population, that's where the city money is going to come from, or from the overall community? Is that where the city money is going to come from?
Mr. Chairman, I would anticipate that they could borrow money to help complete the project, and then that they could raise their sewer rates to service that debt and ultimately pay it off.
Okay.
And that's how most jurisdictions do it.
Exactly.
All right, if we could at this time, I know Richmond City is here, and I'd like to have them come up and explain this, where they are right now if possible. And then we'll probably have more questions after that. So, yes, sir.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. My name is Bob Steidel. I'm the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for the city. And I've been designing, building, and operating sewage treatment plants for 45 years, including 30 years on the James River. I've been doing this for a very long time. This is my vocation and my avocation, and love to answer a few questions for you all. So first things first, in the 2020 agreement that we have with DEQ for the special order by consent, we're working very hard to be able to make that happen. We finished the interim plan submitted to the DEQ last July. We are on schedule with that. All those projects are being constructed as we speak. It's about a $40 million worth of projects. 2025 is when we were going to give you the final plan for everything to get all the way to 2035. This is not 2025 yet. We're still working on it. But we're far enough along to know it's going to cost about $1.3 billion. It's going to require 5 tunnels. Our friends in Alexandria are doing a great job. Only had to build 1 tunnel. I got to build 5 tunnels. I've got to build 5 storage basins like you see underneath the I-95 bridge 5 on the north side of the river, 5 on the south side of the river. I don't have the land for that yet. I have to buy the land, I have to get the permits, I have to do all that work for it. It is an engineering project that I love, but I'm not going to finish it. Miss April Bingham behind me is going to finish it because it's a high priority for the city to make sure that this happens. But it's going to take time, and I just can't stretch time. I don't have enough money yet. I don't have a finance packaging to be able to make it happen. The administration's been great. They have really come up with ideas we had never had that opportunity to think of before, but it's still not enough. The state right now, if the $100 million stays in, that would be $150 million from the state. The city's going to match that by another $150 million. That's the end of our debt capacity. We're done. We have no more debt capacity because this has to be paid for by the enterprise fund for the wastewater utility. This is not general obligation bonds. This is all revenue bonds. So we have to look for additional assistance through our federal partners and our state partners, and we simply don't have that package yet. Our financial advisors are working with us to find a way to make that happen, but it is not a reality yet. And that's my job for April, is to make sure I get her those dollars so she could be able to move forward. Right now, we pay about $65 a month for wastewater. It's going to go to $180 a month, and it's nothing we can do to stop that. And it's not 20% of people in poverty, it's 29% of people in poverty, and it's probably closer to 35% for those that are just on the edge of being able to have a sustainable wage in Richmond. We really care about our ratepayers, and we're going to make it work the best we possibly can. The senator is right. We don't want this to continue on. For each gallon of wastewater that goes out, 90% of it's stormwater, but there is a little bit of sewage in it. 10% of that is sewage. It has bacteria in it. We don't want it to continue. So we're working as hard as we can, as fast as we can, and I'd be happy to answer any of your all's questions.
Any questions for the city of Richmond from this? For the engineer? All right, and I think there's one more from the city of Richmond that I think would like to at least weigh in on this and explain the project.
A little short here. Good afternoon. I agree. April Bingham, Department Director, Department of Public Utilities, and as previously mentioned by Mr. Bob Seidel, DCAO, this is just unaffordable for our ratepayers. We do not want to ask our constituents and our ratepayers to choose whether they should feed their families and or pay their sewer bill. We have done a lot of work in the James River and on the James River for the past 50 years. We have several of our projects that are in construction phase right now. And to echo what Mr. Seidel has already said, we will make sure that those plans and those provisions are put forward by 2025. If you have to think about what we have to build, you think about an Olympic swimming pool. We need about 760 of those. And it's really massive. And so we want to make sure that while everyone cares about the James River and everyone is there to participate and have fun on the James River, we do take this very seriously. And we want to make sure that we do it right, we do it timely, we do it effectively, and not at the cost and the rate of our ratepayers. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you. All right, so any questions? Delegate Williams-Graves for...
Not a question really, but speaking to...
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate the comments from the director of utilities. It's great to see girls in that space. But we in Norfolk, we have a lot. We work on the James River as well, and that's very important to us. So this bill, it's got more implications. Like it's just Richmond.
All right, so let's see if we have anyone who would like to speak in favor of the bill. Okay, anyone would like to speak against the bill? And then we'll turn it back over to Delegate Weber's got a question, I think.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I guess question for the patron or somebody in regards to the, I believe it was the $2 billion that you said was flowing into the James. So we have a lot of goals to clean up the Chesapeake Bay that have been put forward. And those goals and the deadlines in regards to some of those goals that have been put forward not only by us, but obviously by the federal government as well. If we accelerate this and are able to accomplish that and we're able to get the federal dollars to help the city of Richmond and the state dollars to help facilitate the city of Richmond, because, I mean, let's face it, when we did, I think it was Alexandria was one of those where needed a lot more cash and things like that, and we've got, a lot of BMPs and things like that. If we're able to accomplish this, will this facilitate and accelerate those goals for the Commonwealth of Virginia?
Yes. This is one of the greatest ways to remove nutrients that I can think of. Does not mean that we're still going to meet our 2025 WIP goals, because we're not in a position to do it. We have been put in a position to do it, but this will help tremendously going forward.
Delegate Volva.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just speaking to the bill, and I just want to say that I'm very grateful for Senator Stewart pushing the envelope on this. And sometimes I've pushed back a little bit, and sometimes you've pushed harder, but I think in general, it certainly served Alexandria well. And I think it also serves Richmond and frankly Lynchburg well to go ahead and continue pushing. I will go ahead and say that I think Alexandria is a slightly different situation than Richmond, just in terms of sheer scale of the operation. And so, I guess my concern about the bill is, the engineering. I've been out to see exactly what Alexandria is trying to do. It is a massive, massive undertaking. And I'm just concerned about trying to go ahead and push this too far and too fast, and what that ultimately does to the city's financing. The other part, you picked this out, I think, very adeptly, is I am concerned about the language that Senate Finance put in here in terms of providing an escape clause with respect to, I think it was just as an adverse impact on ratepayers. There is absolutely going to be an adverse impact on ratepayers, and so my concern is, that we're going to move this up 5 years, and then we're going to wind up being ourselves in a position of having to move it back more than 5 years to go ahead and deal with the adverse impact. And so I think my gut is that we probably got the bill right when we went ahead and got this through, and I'm a little bit cautious about changing it at this point, realizing that I think we've effectively applied pressure on Richmond to do it as quickly as possible.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, just briefly, and I do appreciate that, Delegate Bulova, the problem is this, is if we back off the pedal now, it's just going to skate along. That's what concerns me. And if we don't continue down this road, I fear that 20 years from now, there's still going to be 2 billion gallons a year of raw sewage going into the James River. And so I think it's really important that we continue to apply pressure. And I've given them my word. If they try hard, I will bring a bill to back this timeline up. But by exerting this pressure, we've now gotten the attention of our federal counterparts who are looking for federal money to get it done. If we back off, that money's not going to happen. That's why I think it's so important to push and keep on pushing.
All right, Delegate Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm looking at the deadlines for the federal infrastructure bill, and specifically the deadlines for requesting projects. And looking at the drinking water state revolving fund, the clean water state revolving fund, the capitalization grants, Virginia gets a sizable chunk of money, but it's not $1.3 billion. And we've also, I believe, missed and maybe someone can answer this for me, maybe DEQ, but we've missed the deadlines for until next year for projects. Is that correct, or am I incorrect on that? The director's about to tell me.
We actually had a meeting today from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock with EPA, and they were supposed to release their guidelines today, and they were not ready.
Okay.
So I'm waiting.
So we're still in time for that. Well, Mr. Chairman, just speaking to the bill for a second, I would say that if we're not being disingenuous about this, then we should, maybe on the House side, have not slashed the funding for Richmond and for Alexandria to address this. And hopefully on the Senate side, you guys can stay strong and actually, even though it's pennies compared to what we actually need to do, help these communities address what they need to address so that we don't have these issues going forward. But it's disingenuousness with a capital D, honestly. to talk about fixing a problem than cutting all the funding for it on the House budget.
Delegate Fowler.
Mr. Chairman, that's okay. I'm not going to ask a question.
All right, thank you, Delegate
Right.
Weber.
First, move to report, and if I could speak to that motion. Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In regards to cleaning up the Chesapeake Bay on a broader scale, as I alluded to earlier, everybody across the Commonwealth, whether you be in agriculture or live in Alexandria or Lynchburg or Richmond, we have goals. And in regards to the 2025 goals, there's going to be 2025 goals, but there's going to be another whip. There's going to be another, process through which the federal government's going to work with us too to clean that up. We still have our neighbors that are still doing what they're doing, namely Pennsylvania. But in regards to $2 billion going into the Bay, I believe that that's a problem. And I will state that, Delegate Lopez, I believe that, I have fought for full Ag BMP funding, and we have not gotten it for years, and we've fortunately gotten it the last few years. And I can honestly say that I will I can honestly say that I will be right there with you when it comes to trying to get enough funding as we can for this stuff. Because everybody in regards to the Chesapeake Bay benefits from a clean bay. And so we all need to do our part. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, I already laid down my motion.
All right, so we have a motion. Delegate Ware?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to support the motion on several grounds. One is most fundamentally, as Senator Stewart said, it signals that we think this is really important. This is something that matters. And if we're going to do that, we're going to signal to the budget folks, even the House budget folks. This is a signal to them that we believe that, and we think it's something that ought to be a priority. Acknowledging at the same time, as the patron has said, that the language that's in here about adverse ratepayer impacts does greatly limit its immediate impact, and I think we have to acknowledge that if we're candid in here. But I think it does send a signal to us, and the fact that you mentioned that Senator Kane, one time Mayor Kane, who is certainly very cognizant of this and I'm sure has the same interest very much at heart. It's a signal to him as he considers a legislation in D.C. related to this. So I'm going to support the motion.
All right, anyone else like to speak to the bill before we send it to the board? And the only reason I'm actually going to ask, I think it needs to be referred. I'm sure it will need to be referred. So I'm going to ask that the motion be amended so it's report and refer to appropriations. And the only thing I will say to this, I don't like, and I talked with the senator before, I don't like sending a bill that I think is impossible to do. I understand we want to put pressure on, but I will not be supporting the motion. So, but the motion's in front of us to report and refer. Do we have a second? All right. We'll go to the board. Motion fails 5-4.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Thanks, Senator. Okay, so the next bill up, I think Senator Hashmi was the next one, I think, in the room.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. This is SB 272, and it is with regard to low carbon emissions for concrete. The bill that you have in front of you is a substitute that came out of committee, and the substitute out of the Senate, and the substitute is asking that our DGS assemble a stakeholder work group to address the issue of the climate impact of concrete and recommend policies and practices to incentivize the reduction of air emissions when the production of concrete especially with the projects that the Commonwealth is going to be engaging in. I had a lesson of quite a bit of lesson in understanding the impact of carbon emissions from concrete as I began working on this bill. Cement production requires extreme heat through burning powdered coal or natural gas, and the chemical reaction that creates cement actually releases CO2 into the atmosphere. And the concrete manufacturing contributes 8 to 11% of global CO2 emissions. So if concrete were a country, Mr. Chair, that would put it third in line for global CO2 emissions, just behind the United States and China. And as you know, here in the Commonwealth, we use a lot of concrete, and we really must address this concern. We had conversations with many stakeholders, many of our cement manufacturers, and everyone is in agreement that we have to move forward to addressing low-carbon concrete manufacturing. And I'm happy to say that we are moving in that direction. European countries have already done this ahead of us, and we are making good progress. So the original bill was calling for us to require a faster pace in terms of our movement towards low-carbon concrete manufacturing, but this bill now is asking for DGS to assemble a work group and focus on making sure that we're able to do that effectively with all the stakeholders at the table and to create a plan for us to do so in good time.
All right, are there any questions for the patron of the bill? I do have a question. I'm assuming you've talked with their delegate, Cement, Tony Wilt, about this. Okay. I think did his I guess I'll say his slant on this was we're moving in that direction now. Okay, and so I just wanted to make sure everyone understood that this conversation had been had with Delegate Wilt.
Mr. Chair, I noticed Delegate Wilt is not here, so I will speak on his behalf. I told him that I wanted to move forward with the bill and the work study that that is in front of you. Delegate Wilt, I believe, was going to offer a substitute motion to ask you as chair to send a letter to VDOT and DGS and get that.
Yes, ma'am. That is correct. So I just wanted to verify, make sure everyone knew that conversation was had before. So, any other questions for the patron on this?
So the motion would be to table.
No. Okay, so.
At what point do we want to do that? Okay.
We actually have a motion to report and second.
Now I'll do the alternate motion to table with a letter that Delegate Tony Wilt outlined earlier with the senator.
Okay, so we have a superior motion, non-debatable, and then to gently lay the bill on the table with the understanding that a letter will be sent to the interested parties to make sure we're moving in the right direction. All right, all in favor or opposed on the board, please? All right, so the bill is gently laid on the table 5-4. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, and I think the last bill before us today is Senator Lewis. Are there any?
All right, Mr. Chairman, I've got Senate Bill 508.
All right, 508 is properly before us. Do we have any adjustments to it, amendments? Okay.
I don't think
Bill's
so.
properly before Senator Lewis.
Yes, Senator Delegate Bloxham and members of the subcommittee. I've been going back and forth today, so I'm a little confused. So Senate Bill 508 deals with the Community Flood Preparedness Fund. Subcommittee will recall we established this fund a few years ago. It's designed to provide resiliency funding to localities for resiliency projects in the Commonwealth. Its writ was expanded a couple years later to include the entire Commonwealth, and its oversight was placed at DCR. And they've been administering the fund ever since. The fund, as you all probably are aware, received some pretty robust funding over the years, greater than what we had anticipated, and DCR has been doing a yeoman's effort in trying to oversee the fund and administer the fund and push the money out there. There were some concerns expressed along the way from the community at large and from other folks in the Assembly about oversight, accountability, transparency. So what we've tried to do with this bill is shift the management, oversight, implementation of the fund over to the Soil and Water Conservation Board. They expressed confidence that they can handle it and that they have the expertise to handle it. They already do the floodplain management plan. They already do the dam safety fund, and so that's what this bill does. It also increases the membership on the Soil and Water Conservation Board by 2 new members, and it requires that the 2 new members be appointed, one by the House, one by the Senate, one from a flood-prone area in the Bay watershed, one from a flood-prone area outside the Bay watershed. And also, we also worked with the ag folks. Obviously, the Farm Bureau and agribusiness have an acute interest in how the Soil and Water Board is managed. And so they were concerned about some quorum requirements, and so we made sure with an amendment that they came up with that the quorum was always going to be at least 4 shall be farmer or district director representatives, because obviously they wanted folks making agricultural programs decisions that had some expertise in agriculture. And so with that amendment, which is part of this bill, we were able to do that. So the bottom line is, Mr. Chairman, the money has been robust. Whether it's going to continue to be that robust or not as it goes into the Community Flood Preparedness Fund, the fund exists to receive money from everywhere. And so in the event that we have direct appropriations from the Assembly, or in the event that we have disaster funding from the federal government, has a Sandy situation, which we certainly hope doesn't happen, there's going to be money coming in there. And so we need the oversight, the transparency, the accountability, and the expertise to administer the fund. That's the bill, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Senator. Any questions concerning the bill? All right, hearing none, let's go to the ones that would like to speak in favor. We actually have some virtual, unless there's someone in the room who would like to speak in favor of it. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Peggy Sanner, Chesapeake Bay Foundation. Just a note to support the bill, particularly in reference to the additional transparency that moving this fund to the Soil Board would provide. It's a board that has a long history in administration of flood-related programs. Moreover, it's a board particularly appropriate given its sensitivity to natural resources conservation-related issues. We think it's very important that that component be part of the way that this board will be administered as currently set out in existing law. So that would not change. We think the board is the appropriate entity to deal with it for all those reasons. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else in the room? We do have some virtually. I don't see much opposition. So I would just ask that the virtual room don't stop the train. So, please don't. Zachary Sheldon.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the subcommittee. Zachary Sheldon with the Nature Conservancy. We support the bill.
All right, thank you. Pat Calvert.
Sure, Pat Calvert on behalf of Virginia Conservation Network, and in spirit of the train moving, we support the bill.
All right, and Mr. Jameson Bronkow.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. James River Association supports the bill. We're on this train. Thank you, Senator Lewis, for carrying it.
Mr. Skip Stiles.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. We support I'm Skip Stiles with Wetlands Watch in Norfolk. We support our Senator Lewis in his efforts. We're on the train as well.
Okay, thank you. Anyone would like to speak against the bill? All right, so we've got a motion to report and seconded. Let's vote to go to the board.
The only thing that's going to stop the train is Skip's tie shirt combination.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank the committee.
And that completes our work. The committee shall rise.